Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hi, welcome.
Oh, I was just taking a drink of coffee. Hey.
Welcome back to my favorite podcast. We are your favorite co-hosts, Aaron and Sweeney.
Thanks for having me. Hey, I'm glad to be here. I am Aaron and Sweeney, and you are listening to my favorite podcast.
My brain just sometimes, I'm just like, it's funny, and then like autism starts to yell, and I'm like, taking everything literally. I'm like, but it's so funny, but it's not correct. Anyway,
sorry, folks. It's me, your favorite co-host, Ty Turner, as you're well aware of.
I find it amusing, to clarify. I also feel the need to verbally explain my sense of humor.
I think that's the best way that jokes go.
I've not been told. So, okay, I thought I was going to burp in the microphone, and I didn't. So you're welcome.
Missed opportunity.
Wait, what? Oh, opportunity. We're doing that thing again where like I have you really low. So I heard you say missed virginity, and I was like, okay, sure.
That's my drag name. Okay. Folks, check it out. Here on my favorite podcast, we're going to talk about routines and rituals today. I came to Aaron with this topic not knowing how he would react, because it's one of those things that I think about a lot and I find interesting, but I don't know if other people feel that. Basically, you know, and we all have, excuse me, we all have routines, we all have habits, and I think that a lot of us probably have some specific ones, and I would like to know what Aaron's are. So
get inside my brain. And I think discussing routines and rituals is super cool. I've made like, I think 2 videos about it on my channel, usually like in relevance to like OCD and stuff, but also just talking about like superstitions and stuff around like Halloween and like religious rituals and all. I find it interesting where I'm like, at which point is it a superstition? At which point is it a ritual? At which point is it like a tick, like something that requires like an OCD compulsion? And then like you start to develop, at least I do, develop like ticks to kind of. Anyway, it's a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, at what point is it like something that you definitely shouldn't be doing? Like for me, every time I see the microwave countdown, I have to like put all the dishes away before the microwave is done, no matter how much time is on it, or, you know.
I've been like
some good stuff like that.
Dr. Aaron, I've been eyeballing you every now and then, as I do, because I'm just like, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just like, so like ADHD symptoms, and it's just like an ADHD is usually caused by a lack of dopamine, and that is also, it's almost exactly the same cause as OCD, so they actually end up holding hands a lot.
Aww.
If you want to get into it, I like how I didn't leave you an opening there. I'm just going to go ahead and ramble.
Let's get into it.
Like the reason, okay, ADHD, I've talked about it kind of briefly, but like there's a lack of dopamine, which is why your brain is jumping from one thing to the other, and it's a whole thing. But the reason why OCD is also often caused by a lack of dopamine, or why a lack of dopamine could cause OCD, is because when someone who is not missing dopamine, let's say checks the lock on their door or like checks the oven, they get a small reward. It's like, it's an adaptive, you know, your brain's like, good, you did it. You're not dying. I'm glad you checked that thing. And you're just like, here's a treat. But like, if your brain isn't giving you that reward, you have to keep checking it, because you're like,
wait, did I really do it if my brain didn't reward me for it? Let's do it again.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I've been kind of like, comes from the same place. So I'll also, like, I'm not going to tell your stories, but there's some stories you tell that I'm like, that's
like what? Like I do have OCD. Oh yeah, that was weird. There's definitely times where I'm like, hey, impending doom, unless you perform the weirdest fucking thing that is so unnecessary. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
No choice.
You're just like even when I was young, I would be like walking and like, you know, at grocery stores, there's like those poles that you can't get the cart out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I need to walk through those poles that are like 6 poles away. Why? I have to, I feel it.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. So that's, I like never knew that was OCD, because I always thought it was just like being super organized and like super anal about things. And I was like, actually, no. That's not it at all. So,
yeah, there's a lot of misconception. When I talk about having OCD, people are like, but you're so messy. Thanks.
Fucking rude. It's like, but you're an absolute slob. How is that possible?
You're a useless piece of shit. How can you have this,
Yeah, no, I've been told
disease?
that. It's like, but you're such a mess. I'm like, well, firstly, thanks. Secondly, all it means is that I have intrusive thoughts and then develop compulsions to try to cancel out the intrusive thoughts. Just the compulsions don't always make sense at all. So,
oh yeah,
fun times.
Yeah, so I'm sure that we definitely have some interesting routines that we could get into. I don't think I have one that I maintain that is because of OCD. I think those just kind of pop up at random for like a little fun surprise. Hey, pop quiz. Can you
Can you consider the following?
Can you get to your car but like before the podcast that you're currently listening to ends? I hope so.
Oh my God.
Or else. And then now I got to sprint down the stairs.
Yeah. He's like, the microwave is just like, can you get to the next room? Like, touch the first tile of the next room without your back leg being in the other room before the microwave beeps? I don't know. How much do you love your family? And I'm like, fuck. God damn it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's always shit that like there's no way I can really control that, but I somehow have put a lot of stakes on having to be able to, get it done.
The best way I could describe it to someone who hasn't experienced it is, I think a kind of universal experience is, when you're a kid and you turn off the lights at the bottom of a basement, let's say, and then run up the stairs, or you turn off the lights and then you run to bed, that sense of urgency that like it's right here in your chest that like I just have to, even though it's like probably nothing will happen, but that fear, it's kind of instinctual. That's what it feels like for me when it's like that urgent. Yeah.
It's like now or never, get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like spontaneous. It's instantaneous. It's like, I am afraid and I don't know why. So,
yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
So yeah, what sparked this for me, spark. That's funny because earlier this morning, I blazed it a little bit. Ever since we talked about our 420 podcast, I've been kind of thinking about revisiting that habit, that routine of just smoking a little bit, because I have a lot of anxiety recently that is like new anxiety that I haven't previously had in my life, and I also just in general always have sleeping problems, and those are things that like whenever I did smoke previously was helped so much by that. So I was like, I know that for me, a lot of the issue is I smoke way too much and then I freak out. So I'm going to take it as slow as I can. So I have this vape, and I took like one puff.
You vape?
Yeah, I vaped it. Well, I'm trying to...
Sorry, I was just kidding.
No, not you. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. Basically, when you hit the vape, it's a lot more controlled, so you can get a lot less. It's like not like taking a hit off of a pipe where you're just getting a whole chamber's worth of smoke. Like with the vape, you can just be like, and then, okay, I'm going to see if that's good, So I did that, and I felt it, but I like didn't freak out. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Mom, Dad, it's happening.
It's here.
So, I did that a few times for a few days, and then I kind of graduated onto the pipe, and I took like one hit off the pipe, and I was okay. And then, that's kind of what I've been doing the last few days. So this morning I took a hit, and I had just gotten back from the gym, and I was like going to take a shower and get ready for this. And I had my neck beard growing out pretty bad. So I wanted to shave before I shower. And my thing is that I have a set routine. I didn't consciously make this, but I've made it a habit, the way that I shave and get ready. Like I have a specific thing that I do every time, which is I strip down and then I put on a towel and I'll run the water and get it hot, and I'll play a podcast and then shave, and then I'll just get directly into the shower and continue with the podcast, and then I get out. So that's my routine with that. But even the shaving is like I buzz with the electric first, and then I do like with an actual razor and shaving cream. And then that's how I do that. So I was high and I didn't do like my habit. Like it didn't like the routine that I usually do. I just went in there. And I think something threw it off, but then like my brain couldn't correct for that because my electric razor was dead. So I had to go get my other one. And once I got it, I just went straight in there and started shaving. All of my clothes are on, no podcast is playing. And then I get done and I'm like, oh, fuck, I am covered in hair. And I was like, holy shit, I just did it. I just went for it. Like, it always takes so much buildup for me to do this. Like, it's this, like a literal ritual where I'm like taking my clothes off and listening to my podcast and like warming the water up and getting steamy. And I didn't do any of that. I just fucking went for it.
Like, drove your car into the shower and started shaving right there.
Yeah. I was like, once I realized it, it freaked me out. And that could also be because I was high. In
a good way or a bad way?
In a way that I was just like, wow, that's really interesting. So I guess I wasn't freaked out. I was just like, whoa, I always do the same thing every time. And this time I just didn't do that. And also I need to get these hairs off of my clothes. So I was like, still high in the shower and then finishing up all that stuff and just really thinking about like habits and routines and how much those play a part in our lives and like how I'm not conscious of most of them, but I partake in them every single day. And, I was thinking about other people's habits that I've witnessed that I've thought was, strange or different. And I just think it's really interesting to me. So that's why I, asked if we could talk about that today.
Interesting. So for starters, I feel like you're proving my point about the dopamine thing, because I'm like, so you smoked and then that helped you more easily enter into a new routine, probably because it helps with the unregulated or low dopamine levels. So I'm just see a doctor about some ADHD meds. Might help you out.
I should do that for sure.
Don't do drugs, kids. I hope I don't sound like a drug pusher. Like, hey kid, you want some Adderall? I'm not. I don't even take Adderall. I take 5 pence.
My favorite podcast, sponsored by Big Pharma.
Sponsored by Big Pharma.
Just kidding, kids. Also, don't smoke weed unless you're a consenting adult and you want to, and it's okay for you. But if not, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. I'm a human being who can't smoke weed. Everyone's different. I literally every single time became instantly overstimulated. My skin goes numb and I'm like, no. But on that note about the routine thing, also just before I get into my whole thing, trigger warning, panic attacks, description of panic attacks, stuff like I'm going to talk about anxiety and times I've had panic attacks and all that stuff. Like I'm going to talk about OCD and all that, and potentially also, marijuana use. So just
a little note. Do you think we should just maybe record, like as part of our intro, just like a general trigger warning that we put in front of every podcast? Because I feel like every podcast we discuss something that is definitely triggering. What if we're just like because it's specific. Never mind. Sorry.
Well, it would be hard to like every podcast has the same trigger warning, because then they'd be like, what are they talking about? Like, literally everything. Like, what is this? I thought this was about superheroes. Like, click on some random one. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right.
No, I usually just like try to gather my thoughts before I speak and then try to like give a warning, because I don't want to like 0 to 100 floor it like I did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, I edited it out. So nobody
And then we
knows,
had to cut out like a quarter of the podcast.
Like half an hour.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry. I don't know what it's like to gather your thoughts before you start speaking, but I'm sure that's probably good.
I'll let you know once I figure it out. But the routine thing, yeah. Well, also, sorry, I haven't slept a lot, so I feel like my brain's everywhere today. But I find it's hard for me to have good days in terms of like productivity, feeling like I'm speaking and thinking coherently. Like, it's really hard for me to have just the right formula to feel okay in a day. And once I do have an okay day, I feel like I need to repeat exactly what I did every day in order to get back there. So like if I want to film, I'll be like, okay, I have to wake up at this time, take my medication at this time with this food. And then like, it's just, I follow it to a T. But then what happens is sometimes I do too much. Where I'm just like, okay, it's like I'm not even hungry, but I'm going to force feed myself this like omelet. And it's like, just because like that's what I had last time and it worked well with my medication. Like I start to go off and then I'm like, last time I had an espresso and that really worked, but it's like, maybe I shouldn't have an espresso if I'm really anxious today, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then if the first one didn't do it, I'll have a second one. And then I'm vibrating in multiple dimensions. And it's just, yeah. I get sometimes it becomes a little too much. That's probably a big reason why I can't do a marijuana, because I just, let's say like I tried like one time, it wasn't bad when I tried, and I was like, wow, I actually feel so relaxed and like this is great. So the next time I did it, and I did it just a little more, just to be like, I just want to make sure it's like, oh, I feel good. Let me do a little extra so it lasts longer. That's not how life works.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I don't feel well at all. So
see, that's been my mistake
too,
too. Is like if I'm like, okay, I'll take it slow with the weed, and then it's good, and I'm like, okay, so I'm good with weed. Let's do it all. Never mind, it's all bad. So my thing, like this last time of just sort of reintroducing it into my life a little bit, is just like, you know, 1 or 2 puffs here and there, and it's I'm really trying not to like go for it, because I know once I do, like if I have a bad experience, I'm just gonna stop altogether, and like it actually does help me in a lot of ways. So I want to be able to continue it. Sorry, I just jumped.
No, that was exactly like that was a perfect thing to add, because it's about moderation, and that made me think like my equivalent would be caffeine. Like I caffeinate, and on some days it's like I feel awful. I could literally be feeling depressed, and then I have caffeine, and it's just that stimulant helps to just kind of activate my ADHD medicine a little faster, or just a little longer. Like I can't even explain it. It just complements what my medication already does. And I'm like, wow, I feel really good. Not manic. I feel good. It feels like this is what I was kind of missing. But then something will happen, like let's say I'm traveling, and because I'm traveling, I want to preemptively make sure that every day I have is a good day. So I'll wake up and I'll have a coffee even before I know whether or not I need that coffee. But then the thing is, it becomes destructive, because like you might not need caffeine every single day, but I'm doing it as a preemptive measure. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like as if you'd be like, oh, well, I don't want to be anxious, so I'm going to smoke now to make sure I'm not anxious later. But it's like, what if you hadn't needed that? And then it's like, it's not what's right for your body that day. Like, you know, that's where it's hard. It's tough. And then if I don't engage in the routine, oftentimes I'll like just psych myself out into thinking like, oh no, I'm not doing well. Or like I'm talking and I'm like, oh, I'm not speaking clearly enough. I should have had a coffee. Like I just start to beat myself up, and I'm like, oh man, what's it like to not this?
Yeah, no, I feel that definitely. I drink coffee every morning. I'm way too dependent on caffeine as well. I'll make like a pot of coffee for myself to drink throughout the day, and then when that's gone, I'll have an energy drink. And then if I don't do that, or sometimes an energy drink, sometimes pre-workout, usually not both. But like I am very dependent on coffee or caffeine in general. Like last night I was sipping a Monster at like 9 p.m. Now I didn't fall asleep till like 4, and that could be why. But I didn't. Could be why. It also didn't wake me up. Like I was tired the entire time until 4 a.m. So yeah,
on a chemical level. I mean, there are things, like, to put it really broadly, as your cells are using up energy, as your neurotransmitters are doing their thing, there's almost like a waste. There's something, basically they're releasing something, and that kind of blocks your neurotransmitters from getting stimulation. It makes you start to feel tired. And it's like when you take caffeine, the caffeine is actually blocking that thing that those would kind of fall into to tell your brain that it's tired. I'm doing it's a very loose description. Please don't, Dr. Science, please don't. But basically that's what it does. Caffeine just blocks basically where like the sleepy signals would go. So like you could be equally like, I feel exhausted, but now I can't sleep. It's because it's literally stopping you from sleeping. Like your brain is like, there's nowhere for my sleep to fit. You're like, yeah.
Enjoy. So that's what I do a lot, and that's good for me.
My heart hurts for you. Like heart rate wise, I'm just like, I'm having palpitations thinking about it. Sorry, I showed you all my gross neck beard. Look, there's a hole.
Cute.
It's not. It's really, no. Fuck, I forgot what I was to say. Other than like energy drinks make my chest hurt. Dang, what you were saying something.
Moderation. I think that, we were talking about like setting ourselves up for these certain routines that we try to follow.
Oh, you were saying you drink coffee every morning. Yes, okay. That's another thing I realized. It's almost like my routine that I should follow involves not following a routine. Like coffee is only effective if I'm not drinking the exact same amount every day. Once I drink the same amount every day, it doesn't give me the boost on my bad days. It's like, it's just this whole thing. And I'm like, this shouldn't be this complicated. But yeah.
Well, that is true. I mean, they do, like, people, well, I don't know who, but it is recommended that you cycle caffeine because you know how it all works.
Yeah, I try to do that with my ADHD meds too. It's just sometimes I'm like, if I don't take my medication, I'm like, I feel awful. So I'll try to do that. Just I get sick so often that I'm just like, when I have a cold, I'm just not going to take it because it's not like I'm going to do anything that day, and I feel awful anyway. And it's been a pretty kind of effective cycling. So
it's a good strat.
Excuse me. Yeah. So what I was talking about the other day about routines, I was actually talking about my dad to my girlfriend and to my aunt. And okay, when I met my girlfriend, I was trigger warning, eating disorder. Just throwing that out there. When I met my girlfriend, I didn't realize how embedded in my routine I had become, and that my routine had become like destructive. It's like, that's where I'm kind of like, when does a routine, like when does OCD become disorderly, I guess? Like when does it start to get in the way of your life? And it was almost a good habit because it's just, I was eating really, really, really clean, but to the point where like I would weigh my baby carrots on a scale to make sure I was eating the exact, like to the decimal point, the exact number of grams of vegetables that I needed. Like it was a lot. And that gets in the way of your life because it's like, I can't leave my house because I need to eat exactly 6 meals a day. And every one of these meals have to have these macronutrients. And if I leave my house, I'm not going to get that exact, like, and then it's like, okay, so then I'll prepare my food. But it's like, I can't carry a camping bag just full of food at all times. So it became like, I wasn't really living anymore. I was just existing from one perfectly prepared meal to the next. And then my girlfriend moved in and she was like, I'm going to eat Mars bars 9 times a day. And also, I'm going to eat that baby carrot off your plate. And now it doesn't weigh the exact same amount it used to. Deal with it. And it actually did help me break out of my routine. Because it was just like, yeah, it was just kind of just like, look, I ate this carrot and you didn't burst into flames. And I was like, oh, you're right, but I want to burst into flames. But I recently hung out with my dad and I realized like he's like, I'm like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of it is genetic, but also I'm like, I for sure picked up a lot of it from him because he's exactly like that. Like, oh my God. Every day he wakes up at 5 a.m. And my dad is also like, has had like multiple hernias, definitely is his side of the family that I inherited EDS from. His ankles are also collapsed into the ground. I'm like, you're broken. But every day, wakes up at 5 a.m., does his workout, can't fucking move after, drinks like the same number of coffees every day, even if it's fucking terrible for his heart. Like, okay, the reason it's funny, sorry, it's because I went there to eat dinner and every, let's say like Friday or Saturday, I don't remember which night, he listens to jazz music when he eats dinner at the same fucking time. But the jazz music playing, you think of jazz and you think of our intro. It's smooth, it's nice, it's relaxing. But this was like modern, upbeat jazz. And like the best way I could explain it to you is if you take a whole drum set and a trumpet player and push them down an upward going escalator and they tumble for 15 minutes. It was a 15-minute song. It was like, and like drums. And I was like, we're eating, everyone is sweating. And we're like, this is really stressful. And my dad's like, I know it, but he will not change. He's like, no, we have to listen to jazz. It's Friday. We're listening to jazz. And everyone's just like, oh my God, it's literally like I was trying to eat dinner during a car, like a car chase. I was just, oh man, shit.
I'm fine.
My like watch registers it as an activity. I'm like,
oh, man.
Yeah. So that's why I was laughing at him because I was like, even if he's suffering, even if he's like, this is terrible, he's not going to change it. He has to listen to jazz. It's Friday. That's the whole story.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. That was it. That's so.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if you ever recognize.
Sorry.
What? So the delay makes it that we talk over each other. So sorry, folks.
Yeah, guys, I apologize for that. We have like a 2-second delay, and it's become a running joke whenever we sync up at the beginning because I snap and Aaron, like I sound off for him to snap with me, and it's always like literally 2 seconds later. It's
like if you want to hear the delay, it's like, okay, Ty, count us in. We're gonna snap just so they hear it.
Yeah, let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
On my end, it was perfectly in sync, but right. I know for Ty, 3 days later, I start to snap. It's like
I wake up to the sound of snapping.
One of us starts to talk, the other one isn't talking yet, but then we start to talk and the other one is talking, so we stop, but then we're both stopped, and it's just...
It's miserable for everyone involved. I'm sorry, guys. We're doing our best.
It's okay. Thank God this is my favorite podcast.
Yeah, this is my favorite podcast. But yeah, the whole idea of like habits and how we incorporate them into our lives, I think is very interesting because especially in the fitness community or with like, you know, like life coaches and people being like motivational speakers, productivity, they always talk about habits as like a way to hack your life because you create, like this sequence of things that your brain does enough, and then you kind of establish this pattern, and your brain can just kind of go into autopilot and do that without thinking of it. I mean, that's kind of like, in essence, everything that we do as humans is habitual, like learning to walk or talk or anything, So it's true. Like, you can basically train yourself like a dog to do the same thing if it's something difficult, like going to the gym. Once you know that you go to the gym at the same time every day, and you've been doing that for long enough, that's just what you do. And I mean, it works, but it's also just so weird that like we can just, I don't know, like trick ourselves into doing shit like that, and like make it something that we don't even realize we're doing anymore. Like, me every morning, I have actively tried to create a good morning routine, but even if I'm not actively trying to have one, at a certain point in my life, I will always fall into one. And right now, like, I get up, I make my coffee and some breakfast, I read, and then I start my day, and then I check my phone in there, but I try not to be on my phone too much in the morning. But like coffee, breakfast, read. That's how I know that I start my day. And if I don't start it like that, then I usually don't get anything done that day. And it's so strange.
Yeah. I'm always hesitant when I'm talking about like productivity in general, or when I'm listening to people talk about productivity, because I don't want to fall into the whole like I'm disabled, and I understand it's like people's value shouldn't inherently be based on how they're productive in a capitalist society. All that,
of course,
I want to always like preemptively say that. So there was this one time I was scrolling through Instagram in the morning. Let's just start by saying I've realized that I do better. The earlier I wake up, the better I do in my day with everything, because I don't feel as bad, and I don't feel as much pressure to get things done in a certain amount of time. It's just, there are a lot more hours to the day, and there's a lot more time for my medication to kick in, and a lot more time for me to do like pain management. It's not just waking up immediately trying to tend to like all of the urgencies of being alive and then going back to bed. Right. So I realized just if I can, getting up early is better. But I realized that, well, this is where the Instagram thing comes in. So I was scrolling through Instagram, and I landed on Aidan Dowling's Instagram story, and he said something about like just his own advice. And he's just like, I realized that, when I wake up in the morning, I would spend an hour on my phone every morning, just like scrolling through stuff, like kind of asleep in bed. And I didn't realize how much that was impacting the way I was feeling every day. And like, there's a part of me that's like a defiant teenager that's just like, you don't know me, I could scroll through my phone. That's, like part of me that's just like, what if I can't get up that day? It's like, okay, but I can get up this day. You get like, I don't want to enable myself in being like, it's okay that I'm not getting up, but it's like, it is okay if I'm not getting up, if I feel that I can't, if I'm exhausted. There are a lot of reasons, but I also don't want to convince myself that this is a routine that I should be following just because I can, and if I can get out of my bed, even if it's just like get a glass of water, feed my cat a little earlier, sit next to the window, like
then you're out. Like that's what, I feel that.
I also didn't realize how much, like, I have ADHD, and just to take my medicine, it takes me like an hour to 2 hours just to like literally just reach over and take my medicine is hard. Waking up is, my body before my medication doesn't want to do anything. Like, I could be on fire and I'm just like, it's just apathy. I fucking can't get myself to do anything. So I used to wake myself up by scrolling through my phone, but I didn't realize how many hours I was doing that for. So I read this Instagram story and I was like, okay. And I checked my like that app that tells you how long you spend on your phone and stuff. And I was like, okay. And I tried to keep track of like, how long am I on my phone every morning? And it's like 3 hours every single morning. I'm on my phone for 3 hours. And it's like,
yeah, dude,
it's okay. Again, there are days where I spend the whole day in bed because I'm tired or I have a migraine or I've dislocated a knee. It's like I get it. There are a lot of times where as a disabled person, my life will just be, I'm on my phone and that's fine. But the days where I'm not feeling those things and I can get out of bed, it's not a bad thing to try to get myself out of bed, to actually just force myself to not use my phone. Because like, okay, is anything hurting? No. Am I exhausted? Of course. First things first, try to take your medicine. Before you check your phone, try to take your medicine. And then get to your phone. But the first, have a priority. So I forced myself to take my medicine earlier and it really made a difference. And I was like, shit, every time I don't check my phone in the morning, I just have a better morning. I tend to get stuff done earlier, or I'm just less stressed about getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a weird realization for me, because at first I just felt super defiant about it. I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to jump on the defense of that, because we all fucking do that. But like, that's becoming a big trend right now. Is people? Casey Neistat recently made a video where he talks about how he has deleted Twitter and Instagram off of his phone entirely, because they, you're giving your time without any return, other than like entertainment and connection, but you can get that without the amount of time that you're putting into it. And so I thought that was very interesting. And I've tried to put that in place too, and like be mindful of how much I am just scrolling through Twitter endlessly, not actually doing anything. And it's like way more than I need to be. So it is something that I think is important to try to be aware of and be mindful of, because it's easy to not like catch yourself doing it, like you were saying, just to like, I'm doing this to help me get up, like, until you start seeing it as like a problem, then you're never going to think it is, and you're just going to continue.
And you're like, well, I'm doing this because if I weren't doing this, then I would just fall back asleep. So this is keeping me awake. But then it's like, there are other things I could be doing. I'm kind of this in between, where again, it's like, a lot of it comes from like, I know that I'm speaking as someone with like a physical disability, but also a lot of like cognitive issues. So like, let's say even like reading, I've gotten into this book lately. My issue is not necessarily with social media in and of itself. It's that I have obsessive thinking patterns when it comes to special interests, not when it comes to people, to situations, but when it comes to a special interest, anything that it is, my brain just, because it's so dopamine deprived, it'll be like, oh, this is nice. This gave me dopamine. This is all we're going to do now. And anything else you do that isn't this one thing will just feel like waiting. It'll feel like you're waiting in the longest line in the world. So if I get into a video game I like, if I get into an animation I'm really enjoying doing, even if it's productive, if I get into a book, if I get into being on my phone, anything I get into, as soon as I'm not doing that thing, because that thing was giving me dopamine, it feels like I'm waiting in line for a roller coaster that I'm never going to get to go on. And it's like, it's awful, because then I don't enjoy anything else I'm doing. I don't enjoy editing my videos. I don't enjoy talking to other people. It always feels like I really have to shit, and you're just like, yeah, okay,
like let's
cool,
get through this.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I have to go. Like, you don't want to feel that way. At least I don't. I hate that urgency. Like, and it's just it's part of the like ADHD and autistic thing, and it all just kind of comes together. So it's hard, because in the morning, once I moved away from my phone, it became my book, but then I could read my book for hours, even though it takes me long, but I get sucked into things, and I have such a hard time breaking. Like, moderation is really difficult for me. I really love playing World of Warcraft and hanging out on my Discord server, and like those are still productive things. I still have to do with the work that I do. It's like, yes, I'm talking to friends and I'm enjoying myself, but I'm also engaging with the people who watch my content, and I'm connecting to the community. And there are times where I'll have these really good talks with people. Like, I'm still doing things that I really care about. But at the same time, it's like, once I do that, then it's like, okay, well, I need to get off this game or get off Discord to work. It's just, the whole time I'm working, I just feel like I want to just, like you're cleaning your room and you just want to shove everything under your bed. You just want it to be done with.
Yeah.
So that's a tightrope I'm walking right now, where I'm like, I don't want to stop myself from doing things that I enjoy or doing things that make me happy. But once I do them just a little bit, everything else becomes so much harder for me to do. It's just, God, brains are weird.
I totally feel that. I've recently been getting back into reading, and before the book that I'm currently on, I read this book that someone sent me, and I started it in the afternoon, and I read it all the way through, like, to the next day. And I was like, okay, well, I read a book today. Mm-hmm. And then now I'm reading a book that I don't love. It's not a bad book. It's just not very well written, and it's pretty repetitive. So that's kind of easy, because then I'm like, my reading is more of a chore than it is something that's like roping me in. But I still feel good doing it, and I'm still interested in the story. So it's like, it's fine, But yeah, I totally feel that. I definitely, if there's a video game or something, like, there's nothing else I want to do. Podcasts, that's one good thing about like podcasts or like shows or something that don't release all at once. Like you have to wait until the next week. Because I've caught up. I've caught up on a 400 episode podcast within like the last year, and then another one that's like 80 episodes, and those are my two favorites. And now I have to wait for the weekly updates, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a fucking shit show. But I guess I'll wait. But it's nice because then I can sit down when it comes out and like, you know, dedicate that hour to enjoying it, and then I don't have the option to continue binging it. I just move on.
See, I haven't gotten to that beautiful, delicate balance yet, because what happens is, like, even if I'm absolutely obsessed, in love with something, it's like if I can't consume it all at once, by the time the rest of it comes out, I've lost interest. It's like I could be really into a show, love it, can't wait. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I have to wait for the next season or the next episode, and it comes out, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. And I try to watch them, like, I don't even remember where I was. I don't know what's happening, and now I'm frustrated. It's like I'm dealing with just an army of toddlers in my brain, and I'm like, please, just... I recognize a lot of it is chemical, and a whole lot of it does actually have to do with the fact that after I was diagnosed with EDS, like I used to exercise a lot. Like I used to really love running, even though it would hurt. I would love bike riding, even though it would hurt. Like I would hurt myself. I would go to freaking kickboxing. It's like I would hurt myself repeatedly, but I am someone who really needs physical exercise. Otherwise, I just don't feel okay. Yeah. And I've been on a wait list to get like special physiotherapy, and they basically told me until you see this physiotherapist who's familiar with EDS, and like, anyway, it's a place called Constance Lethbridge. Until I get there, they recommend me not doing any exercises that hurt me, which is all of them. But since then, I've seen this huge spike, like a huge flare up in my difficulty paying attention, staying on task, keeping interest in anything, like having a stable mood. Like all of it has just been like. So I'm hoping once I get into physical exercise, that'll help, and I'll be able to, you know, watch episodes once a week without completely not caring about the show anymore. Like that's some all or nothing. My way of thinking isn't all or nothing. Just again, all the doctors in the audience. I do not think in an all or nothing way, but my attention span is all or nothing. I'm either really interested, or I absolutely, it's like I'm showing you something that is written in a language that might not even be a real language. And you're like, okay, those are lines on a paper, but what does it mean? Yeah, that's where my brain goes.
Yeah. I experienced that to a lesser extent. So I want to ask you, what is your morning routine?
It depends. So sometimes my morning routine, it's hard. Damn it.
I mean, you kind of discussed it with, you know, take the med, like depending on how you're feeling, what you need to do.
Yeah. So for me, before you said something about how like sometimes interactions on like Twitter and stuff, like you're giving without getting back. Instagram oftentimes actually makes me feel that way, that I'm like, I put so much into it and it doesn't feel like it used to be really easy to connect with people on Instagram, and now I feel that it's really hard to reach the people who follow me. It's hard to have a conversation. It's hard to connect, I find. But Twitter's not like that. Twitter's like, I'm super engaged with my followers, and my followers are super engaged with me, and I get to have conversations, and it's as if I have all these people in my living room, and it's nice. It gives me the social interaction that I lack. In my real life, physically, I have a lot of trouble seeing people and like hanging out with people. Like I have trouble leaving my house, but I also have trouble having people in my space. Like the whole thing is just oftentimes unpleasant. So I will talk to people online, like either through my Discord or through Twitter, and that's my interaction. And those social interactions do help me like get the energy to like get out of bed or like create something. Like it's actually, I get a lot back from that. So it depends. My morning routine, sometimes right now it's really just like take your goddamn medication. Like I try to force myself to take it. I try to get myself to eat, but that's like, it's been really hard lately. I mean, this past week is not the best. I'm thinking of this past week. I'm like, I haven't had a routine at all. It's been absolute chaos.
I gotcha.
It's more like I have a weekly routine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not everyone does the same thing every morning. And I think it's probably smart to be able to take it day by day. Mm. Yeah, that's interesting then.
My week definitely has a structure. Like I'll try to, like every week or every second week, I'll try to film like a couple of videos. So like maybe like 2 or 3 videos in advance, so that if I get sick, I don't fall behind, stuff like that. Anyway, I'll try to edit my videos on Monday, because the way that my week works is if I have something to do, until I do it for the rest of the week, it feels like it's just I feel like I'm not, again, it's that waiting. I feel like I'm just waiting. I feel like it just looms over me. I don't actually enjoy my week, and it's just I'm guilt ridden the whole time.
Oh my god.
And
that's me right now. I have a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I'm like, is it Monday? Is my doctor's
until
appointment right
done,
now? No. Okay.
Yeah, until it gets done, I can't really enjoy anything. And that's a reason why I have a lot of trouble with exercise as well, though. Like, even when I was really into exercising, it became an unhealthy habit for me, because it would be like, well, the first thing I want to do is exercise, because I don't want to shower before I exercise, because I want to shower after I exercise, but I don't feel up to exercising yet, so I'm not going to get out of bed yet, or I'm not going to do any of these other things, because I can't film until I shower because I look gross, but I can't shower until I exercise, and I don't feel like exercising, so instead I'm just going to sit here for hours. Like, it's just, again,
that
was a roller
every
coaster.
day.
But yeah, that happens a lot, and that, exercise is one of them. It'll be that if I haven't edited my video, it'll be like that. It'll be like, okay, well, I can't do these other things, because like, if you have the energy to do those things, then you should have the energy to do your video. But I don't feel up to doing my video yet, so I'm not going to do it. It's just this whole rampant anxiety. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Oh yeah.
So
this
is
exactly
why
how I feel.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's something I struggle with a shit ton, because I don't know yet how to approach I just, honestly, sometimes it feels like I don't know how to be a person. I'm like, how do you live? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's complicated, but my weekly routine will usually be that I try to edit my video Monday, so that the rest of the week I don't have to stress about it, and that liberates me. Like, I feel like I could do a lot more after that. I'm not worried. I'm not like, sometimes I'll stop myself because I have to manage energy. Let's say if I wake up with like 6 tokens of energy, and editing a video takes 3 tokens of energy, it's like you want to set aside. So it's like, I won't do these other things. Like, I won't go to this thing, or I won't go to this appointment, or I won't work on this thing, because then what if this burns me out and I don't have the energy for my video, and then I'll miss my upload day. Like, I'll miss my Friday video. So I keep saving. It's like I'm hoarding the energy. So I like to do that on the Monday, so it's out of the way. And then the rest of the week, however I can, I'll just try to get all of my responsibilities done as early as possible. So I'll try to do like the video and then the podcast all at once, and then answering emails, and then working on commissions, until ideally I get to the end of the week and hopefully I have free time. And during that free time, I'll see the people I love. However, it never works that way, because I never have free time. I never get everything done that I want to get done. Right. And this is where I fall into my unhealthy loop. Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, I'm not allowed to live until I get all of my responsibilities done. And that's a toxic sort of, you're only valuable if you're productive. Like, that's not a way to think. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what goes on inside my head. So that's my routine. How's your routine,
That's what
Ty?
all of society tells you to operate based on.
Yeah.
Is, oh, he's such a hard worker, this and that. Which, I mean, thanks. I love that. But also, I enjoy 1% of my life.
Yeah, you just feel like it's hard when you're self-employed, because it's like
you don't get to clock out. It's all you.
Yeah, you don't get to clock out. It's like, I know I have all this stuff to do, and there is no like, well, I worked my 9 to 5. It doesn't, not, I have like 5 sponsored videos I'm supposed to be working on. And then like, to even get to those videos, I have to first try the thing that they want me to try. But if I don't feel up to trying it, then I can't make the video. It's just this whole goddamn thing. So, it doesn't feel like I have free time. It just feels like I have wasted time, which it shouldn't be that way at all. But that's like a huge obstacle that I haven't figured out how to tackle yet.
Do you have any...
I feel like I'm inducing panic in people. Sorry.
Do you have any like routines or rituals, not necessarily relevant to like productivity or like working, but just like something that you do every time you do a specific thing that might be like kind of an odd, if there's something that you get in the mood to draw or something? Do you have anything like that?
You mean like habits that are attached to each other?
Like more like, for me, a lot of my routines, or I guess, I don't know, I'm using them all interchangeably, but like a ritual that I might perform in order to get myself in a certain mind space.
Yes,
so like if
absolutely.
I'm going to edit, I have to do X, Y, Z, or else I can't edit. And this is what I do every single time. Do you have any of those that are like particularly interesting?
Yes. Let's talk about psychology for a minute. I'm sorry if I'm talking a lot. Again, I didn't sleep a lot, and so I just had a lot of caffeine, so my brain is just like...
You're good, man.
Cool, great.
I figured if we were going to be podcasting together, you would be doing a bit of talking, so...
Yeah, thank you. So fun psychology tidbit. So do you know what classical conditioning is, or have you ever heard of Pavlov's dogs?
Yeah, it's really fucking sad. I mean,
yes, the dog.
The way that he performed it with the dogs is sad, but yeah.
Yeah, but in a non-gory, scary way. Basically, it's just he found out accidentally that when he would make a certain sound, like ring a dinner bell, even without presenting food to the dogs, without them smelling dogs, it would cause them to salivate. So basically, you condition yourself. There's an unconditioned stimulus. So for example, food will make you produce saliva. You will salivate with food. That is unconditioned. It just means that it happens automatically, subconsciously. Nobody had to teach it to you. Conditioning, classical conditioning, means that you've taught your brain to react to something that should not cause that reaction, but it's a different stimulus. So ringing a bell causing salivation, that's not something that happens naturally. It's something that happens through being exposed to it in this way over and over again until eventually you hear it and your body's reacting as if that stimulus is there, but it's not.
Yeah. So he would feed the dogs, and every time he fed them, he rang the bell. And then eventually, he didn't have to have the food. He could just ring the bell, and they would react like they were getting food.
Exactly. And classical conditioning is really interesting. And I mean, like, the experiment itself, much like most old-timey experiments, is, unethical and kind of shitty. But the concept of classical conditioning is awesome and is actually a wonderful tool because you could classically condition yourself. In fact, I do it all the time. You could, I realize that I'm very susceptible to it. It's very easy. Like when I play Minecraft now, I think of Christmas. I don't know why, but if I turn on Minecraft, I smell like gingerbread cookies and I taste Starbucks coffee. And I also, for some reason, I'm at my therapist's office that's on Notre Dame instead of the one that's at the school because that's the one I go to around Christmas time because school is out. Anyway, it's a very hard, specific association that I have to the two. Anyway.
When I play Minecraft, I get super horny.
I just wanted to leave that silence because I want everyone to just sit with that. I get rock hard. No, just kidding. Diamond. Anyway.
I get diamond. I get diamond. Oh god. Diamond.
Have you ever pressed coal into diamend, the hardest substance on it? Yeah, that's my.
You know how they say I have wood? I have diamond right now.
You turn on Minecraft and then from under the wood table, it's just like. Your dick just hitting the tip. Okay, sorry.
It breaks through it.
Shit. Yes, but the classical conditioning thing. Anyway, my whole thing is just all that tangent to explain that. If I want to film and if I want to do anything, actually, there's something I want to do in the day, I have to think of it beforehand, but then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go shower. And while I'm in the shower, I will think about what the thing I want to do is. And usually most of the time, honestly speaking, I'm thinking about how I could get around to doing that thing. So if I have to see a doctor or whatever, I'll think I'm not going to do it. Then I'm like, okay, shower first. And then in the shower, while I'm thinking about okay, so I could do it Tuesday. Then I talk myself into what's the difference between doing it Tuesday and doing it now? Will I feel different? No. And then
Tuesday.
I'm like, what? What's wrong with Tuesday?
It's funny.
How do you say it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
you say Tuesday.
Anyway, Tuesday. It's I kind of, in talking myself out of doing it, I talk myself into doing it, if that sounds weird. Because I think about, it's okay, once I do get there, once I do it, I think of my plan, okay, what will I do on Tuesday when I choose to do this thing? Get it, Tuesday.
When I choose to. Yeah.
And then coming up with a plan that's in the future that doesn't scare me because it's further away. I'm like, actually, I could do that today. Why don't I just do it today? And then I build this game plan. But because I've done that so many times in the shower, I've gotten to a point now where I just need to take a shower. And suddenly I'm like, I could film so many videos. It's just this automatic. I'm like, I feel like shit today. I'm going to shower. And it's gotten a bit out of hand where I'll shower sometimes 4 times a day because every time I shower, I come out of there just ready to fucking tackle the world. But yeah, I accidentally classically conditioned myself to associate taking a shower with being able to do things.
That's
I don't know.
No, I totally feel that. I have all of those for my things too that definitely don't make sense. So no judgment. I think that showering is probably a good thing to get you in the mood to be productive because you don't want to be stinky when you're doing stuff. So that's good.
Maybe I do. Listen, you don't know me or my content. I'm kidding. Okay. Yeah. Are there any, have you classically conditioned yourself to associate anything with another thing or?
I tend to do that. Yeah. So for me is I really like Casey's, the gas station Subway sandwiches that they make. It's like there's like a Subway in the gas station, and it sounds so gross, but they taste so much better than actual Subway sandwiches. But they're like, not the best food to have all of the time, which is when I want them. So after the gym, because Casey's is right across the street from the gym, I'll go and get a Casey's sub. So I've classically conditioned myself to, if I want a Casey's sub, I got to work out first. And it works. Sometimes I don't feel like going to the gym, and I'm like, but I could really go for a sub.
So you're just like, this is it. This is like, to get to the Casey's, you have to first do this series of exercises down a long hallway, and then there's a sandwich at the end.
Exactly. But it starts to break apart sometimes when like depression hits, and I'm like, actually, fuck it. Everything's fake. I can have nothing but ice cream for 4 days. Yeah. And like, then I have to work myself back into it, because I'm like, I'm going to go easy on myself and do literally anything that I want as a person. And none of it's good.
No, that's, oh man, so much to say about that. It's like when I would do roller derby, for example, one of the other many, like, it's fun, but ouch. Yeah. Roller derby, or like when I was doing kickboxing, afterwards, I would always like order pizza because I'm starving and my body's like, give me the carbs. Even though, yes, you should eat protein. Listen. So anyway, I would like, literally, I'm thinking of roller derby and I smell pizza. I smell the cardboard box that the pizza comes in. It's wild. My mouth is watering. But anyway, it's same. I would associate my exercise with my post-exercise food. But the thing is, I also associate it to really good feelings, which is awful, because then if you're feeling depressed, or like me, you have 6,000 injuries, you're like, well, I can't exercise. Let me go straight to the food because that makes me feel good. And that's like that's like not a healthy thing to do. It's really like, I understand the like treat yourself culture, but like treating yourself sometimes is eating something healthy and drinking water and staying hydrated. And sometimes treating yourself is not putting garbage in your body. Like you're allowed to eat. It's not about it's bad for you because of weight. It's not about weight or the way you look. It's about like, after I eat pizza, I feel like I'm going to die. Like, oh yeah, it's really bad for me,
It's like, let me put all these like greasy, sugary, different foods that are definitely not going to make me feel better in my depression. They're only going to make me more tired and like amplify all of the symptoms that my depression already gives me. But
yes. And it's like a shitty shortcut though, because I realized like, it wasn't the pizza that made me feel good. It was the after workout glow, that feeling after you've done, like, I can't explain it to you. I'm going to make myself rigid. I love the feeling after going for a run or after a really intense workout. It just, my body is like glowing. I love it. I miss it. But eventually I'll get back there one day. But that, because I was in that after workout glow, I would eat the pizza and I'd be like, man, this pizza is the happiest thing on the planet. But then you eat it afterwards and you're like, because of the classical conditioning, you're eating the pizza and you're getting the same happy feeling, except like it's not. It's a shortcut. It's so you're taking the back door. You're like, I taught myself this thing, so now I'll do that. So yeah, and it wears out real quick, because then what ends up happening is because classical conditioning can be changed or redone, or basically it's like a save file. You could save over it. In some cases, it depends. Trauma is a thing, but thinking of little Albert, that experiment. But anyway, we'll talk about him later. Yeah, what ends up happening is that then you eat pizza and let's say like you get sick every time, or like it's late at night, it's like 2 a.m. It's, not peak hour to be eating pizza, so you can't sleep. You're going to end up like, now I'm at a point where if I think about pizza, I want to throw up. I'm like, I feel sick, because you eat it and then you lie down and you're like, there's a whole pizza inside my throat. So yeah, it ends up.
That's a good point. You can do it the other way too, where like, a lot of people have certain alcohol that they can't drink because they drank it so much one time and got sick, and now like, if I even smell like cotton candy vodka, I will lose my mind, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Classical conditioning, actually, in the accidental ways that it happens, usually, okay, first of all, a lot of nostalgia is actually just like, again, you've been exposed to this thing as a child, and then as an adult, you're experiencing, anyway, classical conditioning. But a lot of it that happens accidentally is actually usually negative or like embedded in trauma. That's why like, there are certain songs, every song from like the early 2000s or late 90s, when I hear it, I feel like I feel nauseous. I don't understand where that is yet, because like buried trauma, but I hear those songs from that era, and I just feel angry and sick. And I'm like, that's interesting. We'll get back to that one day. But it'll happen with a lot of people who, I don't want to say anything triggering shit out of.
Yeah, if you've
You
had
got your
something
ass kicked
happen
by a
and then-
reindeer. Okay, let's say you got your ass kicked by a reindeer. I feel like that's specific and odd enough that nobody's going to feel triggered. And now every time you hear jingle bells, you start to like, you have cold sweats. Like you react as if a reindeer standing outside your house, cracking its knuckles, just fucking waiting, like, kissing your mom. Anyway, just kidding.
Or even better,
flipping a
grandma
coin.
got ran over by a reindeer. Because it all comes full circle.
I didn't want to say anything. I was just like, cars. I was like, no, we're not going to go there. But like, you get them saying like sometimes, I don't know, sirens were a trigger for me for a long time, and I eventually just had to like reteach myself like it's fine, whatever. But like there was a certain period of time where I was like, why do I like it wasn't there before? Why do I react this way? Then I was like, oh, okay, I see where this happened. All right, cool, awesome. Just break that off. A funny one actually. When I was young, I was in the hospital all the time because everything was broken or dislocated. And this one time, I was in the hospital, and the doctor thought that I couldn't hear him and my mom talking. That sounds funny, but anyway, and it was around. It's a really weird thing. It was around Halloween. So I was sitting facing a door with one of those skeletons on the door like that, like, but it's like drawn and there's like it's like it's like made of paper, but it has all those little circles where those things. And I didn't know. Like every time I see them, I have like I can't explain what happens. I feel like scared, but I'm like it's like a little scarecrow skeleton thing. And then I like eventually at some point I went back to a hospital, saw it. I just immediately remembered everything. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, wow.
It was a weird repressed memory, but for the longest time I hated those skeleton things because they made me, as soon as I would see them, I would feel like this dread that I couldn't explain. And I remember when I was young, I was sitting outside that waiting room and the doctor was telling my mom that like at the rate that I keep breaking and dislocating things, it could stunt my growth, or one of my legs, he's worried is not growing because of the amount of breaks that I had in it. And it freaked me out. It freaked me out to hear that because I was just like, what does that mean? Am I going to have one really short leg? And it's like, it's fine if you do, it's not a bad thing. But I was a kid and I was like, what does that mean? Anyway, I was just like freaking out about it. But like, it got buried in my memory, the memory itself, but the reaction to the thing, the stimulus, which was that thing I was looking at because I was trying to focus on something, and that's for some reason I'm really looking at the details. That reaction stayed. It's just so weird.
So now every time you see one of those skeletons, you think you might have a short leg.
Stop it.
I get it.
I now that I understand it, oddly. Oh no.
And he's gone.
Now that I understand it, it doesn't like it. It's like the reaction went away, which is really weird. I mean, I see them sometimes, and I'll get a little like I'm like, oh, I hate them. I don't know why. Then I'm like, oh, I remember why now. So it's not as bad, but it's just such a funny thing to like a happy little scarecrow or a little skeleton on the door, like a kid's decoration. I'm like, oh no,
Spooky. Well,
spooky skeleton.
Yeah, our brains are fucking weird, and we do weird stuff. But I think we covered the topic pretty well. I have a good quiz, a good BuzzFeed quiz.
Excited for this quiz.
Wrap it up with. It's called Loading. Tell us your morning routine, and we'll reveal when and where you'll get married.
It's so when and where. That's what got me. I'm like, wow, that's All right, so
BuzzFeed deep diving.
The first question I feel personally targeted by, it says, how many alarms do you need to wake up?
Infinite. They don't work. All of them.
I need like over 5. Yeah, I'm going to click that one because like I need an alarm for an alarm for an alarm for an alarm. So yeah.
And then I have to snooze them all and multiple times.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll wake up and I will know that like I set an alarm the previous night or, several to wake up, and I'll wake up and it'll be well past the time the alarm was supposed to get me up, and I'll just be there with my phone in my bed. And I'm like, oh, that's cool that I went and did that and didn't wake up.
And when I used to work and I had to wake up at 5 a.m. because my work schedule was like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Garbage. I never understood. I'm like, why do I don't have a sense of urgency? I wake up and let's say it's like I had 4 alarms. I know I'm going to put 4 because I'm like, it's usually 4. And I'm like, oh shit, it's 6:30. I have to be at work in half an hour. I had to wake up an hour and a half ago. I'll still scroll through my goddamn phone. And I'm like, why? Why? No, yeah, I'm like, it's literally, I'm like, I don't have the neurotransmitters to literally get my body to react any other way. So it's just like apathy.
I think my brain has made shortcuts where it's like, we know that when this sound goes off, you get up, you go get it, and you turn it off. So you know what? Just go ahead and stay asleep for that, and we'll take care of it. And I'm like, oh, cool, perfect. So
great.
This doesn't work. What will you have for breakfast?
I mean, it's more like, it's a trick question because, like, ideally, I mean, that avocado and eggs on toast sounds great. Realistically, it's going to be some good old H2O and a motivational speech. I'm like, it's hard. Listen, getting out of bed, making breakfast, buying groceries, fucking hard. And speaking of which, I have to buy groceries tonight. But anyway, I'm going to put avocado and egg on toast because this is who I thrive to be. And also,
there you go.
Yeah.
And that's what your wedding should be based off of, is the best version of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been doing smoothies a lot lately, so I'm going to do smoothie.
Good.
Oh, folks, by the way, we didn't even go into this. We just assumed that you know this by now, which you should, because this is our fifth episode. But we do a BuzzFeed quiz that's relevant to the topic of each podcast at the end of the podcast, and it will be linked in the description, so you can do it along with us. We are on question 3. Oh, wait, there's an option for nothing.
The answer, here's the weird thing about my routine, like, real quick. It never is nothing. It's just that I'll end up having breakfast at 2 p.m., meaning I'll only take my medication at 2 p.m., but I have to have breakfast, otherwise I can't take my meds, and I, like, don't function. So it's more like it takes a long time. But sometimes it'll just be like, this bag full of trash. And I'm like, no, why am I eating this? I'm like, because it's better than nothing.
Gotcha.
Next question. What kind of coffee do you drink, I guess?
I drink regular fucking human coffee. What is all this shit?
I drink espresso.
Oh my gosh.
I guess there's an option for other.
Yeah. Folgers? Why isn't that on the list?
I think they should just put, like, basic American. Oh, shit. Yeah, espresso. It's because all of these are the good, the foamy kind of coffee, the real shit, you know?
Yeah. They should at least have iced coffee on here, because I don't like, if I'm going to drink coffee hot, it's just going to be black Folgers that I made in my coffee machine, and I can't be bothered to do anything more to it.
But it's so sad and watery. There's no consistency. I'm gonna make you a nice espresso when you come here.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah. So how long are you showering for?
No shower in the morning. I'm doing not at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm like a 30 minutes kind of guy. I think. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I do shower, it's usually 15 minutes, but that's not part of my morning routine generally. I shower like later in the day. So, yeah, no shower.
Where are you going?
Work, school, the gym, a friend's house, running errands, staying at home. Probably the gym.
I put staying at home because, like, 9 out of 10 times.
Did you get your answer?
I did.
Me too. What's yours?
Mine is the Eiffel Tower, Paris, in 10 years. I'm like, that's ambitious for someone who fucking doesn't leave the house. Okay, cool. What's yours?
The island of Malolo, Fiji, in 15 years. Is Fiji one of those places where it's illegal for me to go because I'm trans? Because if so,
no,
I think
it's a bottled water brand. I'm sorry. Also, probably because most places I could think of are like, you can't be trans, it's illegal. I've never been to the Eiffel Tower.
Me neither. I've heard it's nice.
I've also never been to Fiji.
Yeah, same.
I mean, if I go look, Fiji.
I've drank it.
Yeah, it just gives me the water. Actually, no, it gives me an island. Wow.
It's as far away from here as you can get before you're coming back.
Oh, the water is so pretty.
Ooh. It's Photoshop. Don't let it fool you.
What's it like to be jaded at the ripe old age of 22? It's probably Photoshopped. Nothing in the world is nice, kid. Get used to it.
Sorry, folks. What is nice is this little alien. I saw your comments wanting him back, and here he is. He's going to be right here.
They were mourning
on my microphone.
The little guy. He's nice. I like him.
He's pretty good. I got him in the P.O. box. Well, shit, folks. We did it.
Nice. Let us know where you're getting married and when, and send us an invite.
Yeah. All our SVP. Hit me with that +1. All right, folks. This has been my favorite podcast. I hope you loved it. I hope it's your favorite, too.
I hope so. That's it. That's all of it.
I
was going to go on another tangent, then I was like, Aaron, shut the fuck up. I can't open my mouth, otherwise we're going to be here for another 30 minutes. So thanks.
Tune in next week.
Have a nice week.